Hi, Marcus. How you going?
Well, hey. Well, hello, Eugenie. How are you?
It's good. I'm good. This is going to be a bit of a different chat today. We're going to call it, we decided CHINWAG, hey, and I guess our listeners. Yeah, CHINWAGs, where there's no guest and host here. It's just two homies hanging out, chatting about all things homeopathy. And you've just had a birthday, Marcus.
Due to the breeze.
Yeah. Happy birthday for the other day. Did you have a good one?
Thank you. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, really good. Another year older, another year wiser. And yeah, no, it feels good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling healthy, feeling vital, which is important. My kids keep reminding me I'm getting older. I know that, kids. Thank you. But I'm wiser. I'm wiser for it.
And I think our kiddies are the same age because you've got an 11-year-old boy and 8-year-old girl, hey?
12 and 8.
12.
Yeah,
12
and 8.
And 8.
Yeah,
son's 11. Oh, my God. He's acting like he's 16, though. I feel a little bit cheated because I thought I had until about 13 before the hormones started kicking in, but he's like full on hormonal at 11. So I feel a little bit ill-prepared.
Exactly. Well, it's a transition. And what it's done for me is made me think about the world that he's going into as a young man. And yeah, it's interesting what you go through because as you know, when you go have kids, you relive your childhood as well. But this area coming into the teenage, but also, like I said, the world that he's going into as a young man, and I'm being a young man in the world. It's a really interesting transition,
Now, we have so much to talk about today because you've already just like segued into something that I want to ask you straight off the bat, but maybe we should just quickly like tell our listeners what we're up to. Marcus and I just love chatting all things homeopathy. We're just super passionate about chatting homeopathy. And every time we chat, it tends to be like an hour conversation. Then we thought, hey, we should just record it. And actually we've got a couple of good episodes already just from chatting that we never recorded. So if you're listening to this episode and you're wondering what the hell's going on, it's just two homies hanging out and we got to see what comes up. But
absolutely.
You've just said about your son now growing up to be a man in this world. And maybe you could tell us a bit about this podcast that you're doing, with the men's health.
Yeah. Well, it's something that I feel, as I already said, as my son's shifting from going to sort of teenage years and becoming a young man, and just looking around and talking to a lot of men, being a man myself, because when you talk to men at all different ages, often I found that men don't really have a place to talk, or there's not a lot of support out there. And it was a shocking statistic that I came across that in the UK, the biggest killer of men under the age of 45 is suicide. And that was really, really, really shocked me. And I thought, well, what support is there out there? And so we started this podcast. We just started recording it. It's going to be out later in the year, recording the episodes called The Shed, where we invite men into the shed. It's a studio. It's not an actual shed, but to invite them in just to talk about men's issues, the issues that men have from a mental health point of view, but also physical, just for men coming together to talk. And it's been really interesting. We've got some really interesting guests coming on, and hopefully men can listen to this and get some wisdom somewhere with what we're talking about. And yeah, I think it's going to be, the feedback we've had has been really great so far, but I think it's important. And I think for a lot of men, they don't know how to be anymore. That's what's come up. And I think, as I said about my son sort of coming of age and becoming a young man, we need those support. I mean, what's going wrong when the biggest cause of death for men under the age of 45 is suicide? That's a crisis.
As in bigger than heart disease and cancer, like suicide?
Yeah, it's the biggest cause of death of men under the age of 45.
Wow.
What support's out there? For example, one of our guests, Tom Chapman, he runs a thing called the Lions Barber Collective, where he is a barber. He lost his friend to suicide back in 2015. And so he said, I've got to do something. I have to do something here in order to help people, because he'd only seen him a few days before, just in the street. Chatted, had a quick chat, and then he found out his friend had committed suicide 3 days later. And he said when he was, and you hear this on the podcast, when he was in the church, the way he was positioned in the church, he looked across at the congregation who were there. He said he was packed, absolutely packed out. And he thought if his friend had only known how much people loved him, if they'd only known how much people loved him. And he said, I've got to do something. So he started this thing as a barber, because he said, as a barber, men talk. He said, they talk to me. He said, and I've had clients for 15 years, 20 years, and they've told me, I've heard everything, when the first date with their partner or the first child or things at work, all different things that come up. And he said it's quite an intimate space. And So he says often men will open up. Also, they're sat in a chair, not on their mobile phone, looking at a mirror of themselves.
Yeah.
So he said it's very conducive to get guys to open up. And he said they're not there to be therapists. He even said, even though we're like a therapist sometimes, he said, but we can pick up on things, especially around mental health, and point them in the right direction. But they go all over. They go all over the country and do pop-up collective barbering events and men come and sit and have their hair cut and talk. So he's one of our guests, which is great. And so, yeah, that's something I feel very close to my heart, and I think it's desperately needed. Desperately needed.
That's incredible. I've got two, one's a client and one's a mum at school who were hairdressers for like 15 years, 20 years, and then went on to study counseling. And it's actually such a natural progression, hey?
Absolutely. Well, actually on that, whenever we've had hairdressers train with us at CHE as become a practitioner, I always say you're going to make the best homeopaths because you've already got that ability to get into rapport with people very quickly, and people will open up to you and talk with you because that's what you do day in, day out. And they often will make great homeopaths. So yeah, absolutely. 100% agree.
What's the podcast's name? Or just
it's called The Shed.
The Shed.
It's called The Shed. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. I'll send you details. Yeah.
Excellent.
It doesn't launch until the autumn, but we're just recording a lot of episodes at the moment. So yeah, it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have lots of things that I've kind of been making little notes on that we could have a little chat about. One of them is quite controversial, which... But
Come on, we like a bit of controversy.
I was like in two minds, but I do think it needs to be spoken about. So I'll give you a little bit of background on this one.
Yeah.
So there's this really great Facebook group, and somebody asked in the group about how much does your homeopath charge? And then the thread was very interesting. It turned into people actually complaining a lot about how homeopaths treat them. The story that really caught me was a particular one, and I ended up having a long private message conversation with this lady afterwards because I was so shocked by it. She said a homeopath charged her $450 for the consultation. That wasn't the issue. Then the homeopath said, okay, I have to go and work out what to give you and I'll get back to you. The homeopath got back to her and she said, it took me 6 hours to work on your case. You need to pay me another $250. And
What?
The lady said, oh, I can't afford that much. And she said, okay, pay me $125. So she did. Then the homeopath said to her, well, I have now narrowed it down to 5 remedies for you. I want you to come back on Zoom and pray with me so we can see which is the right one. So the first one was just like in a homeopathy study Facebook group. So I took this case and I posted it in our professional homeopaths group, which is mostly loads of UK homeopaths in there, but also from all around the world. I posted this in there and I said, I want to have a little podcast series about not that great practices in homeopathy. And I got slammed by a couple of people, but also was really impressed how many homeopaths were happy to say, yes, you know, we're not perfect, just like any other profession. These things need to be talked about. We can't put ourselves on pedestals and think that we're perfect. Yeah. So I'm kind of like treading on this because so many of them were saying, you can't point these things out on a public forum like a podcast because you're going to give homeopathy a bad name. But then at the same time, I don't want somebody who's gone to a homeopath who charges them one fee, then another fee, then wants to pray with them to think that that is how homeopathy is done. I want to make a huge caveat here as well. There are some people that are really going to be happy to pay extra if you have worked 6 hours on their case, which many of us do most of the time anyway. I've never heard of a homeopath charging extra for that. And many people are going to feel comfortable and more comfortable with a homeopath who prays with them than one who doesn't. But the message I kind of want to get across is that that is not standard practice. And because this person was so put off by this whole experience that, you know, it really left a bad taste of homeopathy in her mouth. So I was wondering, Marcus, do you think we could kind of tread into this conversation? Because there were these other conversations came up of apparently a well-known homeopath. I didn't private message this lady to find out more details, but she said this homeopath's really well-known, lectures all over the world, and talks about their great result. I don't even know if it was a male or a female. The person just said they have great results. So this person booked with them, but then it turned out that this homeopath does not do follow-ups. So how can you say that you're having great results if you're not somebody that does follow-ups? And then there was other stories there of homeopaths who just never got back to their client with a remedy. And then one person, I actually had another really horrible story that I can't even tell on air because the person, they said, I'm going to tell you this, but that homeopath actually ended up in jail. But she said, you know, you can't tell this story. So I I'm treading very carefully because anybody who knows me knows I'm passionate about homeopathy. I'm passionate about spreading it out there. But I also think we need to acknowledge the fact that we're not perfect. We make mistakes. Have you heard any of these stories? And why do you think?
No, I mean,
why do you think it happens?
Wow. I mean, I've never heard any stories like that before. I mean,
that's pretty extreme. I have to say that's pretty extreme.
Yeah, I think it's like everything, isn't it? There's always a percentage of people in any profession, any walks of life. Look, in the UK, the biggest serial killer there's ever been was a doctor, GP, Harold Shipman. That brought in a lot of change around how doctors and professional development and how they are monitored. Brought a whole change after that happened. I think you're always, in any profession, you're always going to get situations where really people act in a bizarre way or not unclear. My personal opinion of it is with any sort of client relationship, you've got to set your stall out right at the very beginning and saying, this is how I work. This is how I work. Should be very clear to the client. For example, what to do in a case of an emergency, what they should do, or how they can get hold of you, or charges. It should all be up front. It should all be up front. And so you set your stall out at the very, very beginning. And then the client has a choice of whether or not to go forward or not. So if it's like I said, some people may want that, where they have a homeopath that prays for them, and that's fine. But I think it's the clarity of the contract. It's an agreement, a contract. And I think that should be laid out at the very beginning. Because to me, if you're charging one fee and then you come back to the client and patient and say, well, actually, I've worked really hard on this. I'm going to it's like you're not building an extension of a house. This is somebody's healthcare. And I think that's up to you if you had to spend another 6 hours working on the case. So I think it's about, I don't know what you think, Eugenie, but I think it's about setting your stall at the very, very beginning. For example, one thing I say to clients is, for every year you've had something, it could take a month to clear. That's my rule of thumb. So you come in, you've had eczema for 12 years. It could take 12 months. This could take a year of treatment. However, let's review it after session number 3 and see where we are within that process. So you're managing expectations. And if the person gets better quicker, that's great. But you're giving some kind of context. Again, we can't forecast it too much, but from years of experience, you have a good idea how long often things can take to shift or change. So I don't know what you think of that, Eugenie, but that's what I think.
Definitely. Yeah. Laying it all out the front. And I wonder if maybe some of that is the onus on the client as well. Like, I think, I mean, most of us, I guess, get our business from referrals. And usually if the person who's referred you are going to give you a bit of an idea of that person anyway. Lots of homeopaths do free 15-minute consultations.
Yep.
So I think maybe that's like a good idea, like suss the person out beforehand.
Definitely.
And maybe see if they're registered with a body, because if you have any complaints, you can always go to their registered body and say something.
Yes, and I totally agree. And I think this is where really the registering organization, professional organizations, this is where they come into play. And I think you should always go to see somebody that is on a professional register. I think that's good practice. It's good practice for the practitioner to be on a register, because then they can keep up with things like CPD and all those things. So your first aid. And you said about the free 15-minute. I mean, I used to do a lot of that when I first started. And I used to find that really helped, because I got to meet the client and patient. They got to meet me. I could explain how I worked. And I think, and sometimes it was great and we'd go forward and book an appointment. Other times you go, actually, I could probably refer you to somebody else who probably works in a particular way. So I think it's both. If you're a client, you're employing this person to help you. But like you said, there's always going to be situations where people behave bizarrely, really.
I have to say, I mean, that is really the exception to the rule. The majority of cases, you just hear homeopaths going out of their way to help people, driving to their house, dropping remedies off. I did a spotlight with you for CHE recently, where I was more chatting about the ways that homeopaths should, like, so many homeopaths go out of their way above and beyond, I think maybe over the top, to the point where they're almost giving their time away. And it's always an energy exchange. And if you're driving to people's house all the time and they're not valuing what you're doing for them, that's not really healthy either. So that's the majority of cases. But I just thought it might be worth just mentioning these things for our listeners, if they're wanting to engage the services of a homeopath, that they maybe do a little bit of their own research, ask for some referrals, have a chat with the person, see if they're registered, ask all about the fees. Can you think of some good questions for a person to ask a homeopath? Like, what are some things that you?
Yeah, well, I mean, the number one thing is what do you charge? And sometimes homeopaths have different rates for initial first consultation and follow-ups. I mean, I used to do, but in the end, I just had a flat rate. It was just easier. This was my rate from a consultation, whether it's a follow-up or it's a first consultation. And then I would ask, is there any additional fees that I could possibly incur? That could be remedies and postage. It could be if you're a phone for an acute that you get charged X amount. But really, I would ask the homeopath to send you this, either via email or get them to direct you to their website. So you can see very, very clearly. It should all be absolutely clear, I think, and transparent. So I think they're the probably questions I would ask. And what would happen if you were away? How can I contact? Yes. Do you have a locum that will be in charge of your practice whilst you're away, if you're on holiday or you weren't around? I think they're the sort of main things I would ask, definitely.
Definitely, yeah, for sure. And what to do if there's an aggravation, all those sorts of things. Yeah, whether, like you said, with the remedies, whether some homeopaths include them, some charge extra for them, the fees of it. And something else is also how long the person can expect to hear from you, like how shortly after your consultation can they expect to hear from you. Some homeopaths prescribe on the spot. Some of them will take a few hours or maybe a day or even a week to get back to you. Sometimes there is a bit of extra work that's involved. So I think all of those.
Well, again, it's back to what you're saying. It's being clear, asking them at the beginning, when will I get my remedies? Like I said, I prescribe on the spot. So it's just easier. But some homeopaths may need to work on the case. I mean, look, we all work on cases, but like you said, may send it afterwards or order it from a pharmacy, and then it's got to go. They've got to order it. Then that order's got to come to you, and you could be in a different country or a different city. And so, I think it's having that. Just asking those questions. You're right.
When did you start prescribing on the spot? So you've got like 5 odd years of experience now. Hey, you were
30. 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
I started really. I remember when I qualified. I remember very clearly. I was like, I'd have a day of patients and then I would spend the next day working out the cases or 2 days. It depends on the case. But I was thinking, and I worked out I was on like £4.30 an hour after I did all that. So I decided, and it was actually a homeopath, I had a mentor at the time, said to me, look, you've got to start prescribing there and then for the majority of the cases. They said, you know what remedy to give. It's like the 80-20 principle, the Pareto principle. 80% of the cases you'll be able to prescribe there and then. 20% you may need to go and work on. And so that's what I did. And I got to remember, I was nervous because it's like, oh no, I'll go into analysis paralysis. But I did it. It worked. It wasn't, and it's only when people came back and said, oh yeah, they've done really well on the remedy. I think, okay, I can do this. It's just a confidence thing. But even now, sometimes I get difficult cases where I won't prescribe on the spot. I'll say, I just need to get some time, just look through the case. Because especially I think as you go on, I remember Robin Murphy saying this, as you go on through practicing, the more experience you get, the more difficult cases are sent to you, are given to you, because you can deal with it. But so sometimes, you'll work on cases. But 8% of the time that I'm prescribing there and then. A
lot of that depends on how many clients you see as well, though. Hey, like I found that became a lot easier once my clinic got insanely busy and I just literally could not spend that much time. And I was forced to kind of prescribe on the spot. I sometimes feel like there's so many things that I have been just kind of forced into. Like I feel just as the clinic got busier, and we used to do kind of like 4-week follow-ups initially a few years ago. And that was a tricky one because the remedy often wouldn't have had enough time to kind of work its way out. And you'd be so tempted to kind of want to change it. But I also felt, well, I don't want to leave them too long without seeing them. And then it got to a point where my clinic was so busy that literally my clients couldn't get in sooner than 8 weeks. So they became this natural 8-week follow-up. And Hilary Dorian actually said she had the same thing happen in her practice, that it got to the stage where she got too busy, she couldn't. And it worked out so much better because what would happen is they might have had like an aggravation or something big come up at the 3 or 4 week mark where you might have been tempted to change. But then by the time they come and see you at the 7-8 week mark, then they're like, oh, that's resolved and I feel so much better now. And that was really interesting progression.
Yeah, and like you said, and you're reacting to how your practice is. And like you said, I remember that exactly very clearly. You just don't have time to spend when you're busy to be sending out all those, unless you get an assistant. That's why it's just easy to do it there and then. So I used to leave a small little gap between clients so I could go, so I would have enough time to make the remedies to give to them. And then they'd be booked in by the receptionist. So yeah, it's dictated by your practice and how you want your practice to be. The other thing as well, actually, on that, Eugenie, I remember this. I was very young when I first started my practice, only 23. And I had to make this work. This had to work for me. I had no choice. I had no other career. This homeopathy was it. And I wanted it to be. So I just went, I think I told a little bit of the story when I did your podcast, but I got very busy very quickly to the point where I was seeing like 16 people a day. So I'd start at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I did that because the osteopath worked at the same clinic and they used to do the same. And so, because you get all the paid people going to the work, and this is in London in the city. So I'd get the people for work and then I would finish sometimes till 9, 10 o'clock at night. And you know, it is, as you get busier and busier, people, because it's all now personal recommendation. They phone you up saying, I want to see you. You say, I've got no space. I go, oh, please, I can recommend somebody else. No, I want to see you. You're squeezing people in your lunch hour. All of a sudden, you've got no lunch hour. And it's just crazy. And I burnt out from that. I remember a few years into doing that, being in a consultation, thinking, I just felt empty. I just felt completely empty. And you got to be careful for what you're asked for. In that enthusiasm to heal the world with homeopathy, I had nothing more to give. And I had to take time out. I had to get a couple of months off just to really recharge and recalibrate how I wanted to practice. It was now, how do I want it to be? And so I changed it as soon to my lifestyle and how I wanted to live my life, which wasn't seeing that amount of people a day. Because you can't, I
don't know how those Indian homeopaths do it. I was actually chatting with a homeopath over East yesterday who lived in India for 2 years studying under various Indian homeopaths. But she did say that they have like housekeepers and they have like their food is ready and this is ready and that's ready. All they have to do is turn up. Yeah. Whereas over here, I've still got to feed the kids, get them to school, do this, do that. Yeah. But, you know, where they just work huge hours and see like 70 or 100 patients a day. And
yeah. It's keynote prescribing as well, isn't it? It's very keynote prescribing.
Still, though, it's a lot of people's energies.
It's a lot of people.
It takes a lot out of you. I'm an extrovert. Like yesterday, I had a really bad night the night before and I was so tired. But the second I started talking to my clients, and even though they were on Zoom, the second I started chatting with them, my spirits lift. So, but still, I think seeing 70 or 100 people a day, even if it's just keynote prescribing, it would take a lot out of you.
It does. We did that in our project in Gambia. We were going around the villages and we were doing basically under a tree in the village. And like you said, people would walk for 3 days to come because they knew we were coming. And it was exactly that. In fact, I did it with Hillary. Myself and Hillary did this.
When was this?
And this was back in 2013.
Oh, cool.
One of our graduates set up a project called the Gambia Project, and myself and Hillary were the trustees of it. And actually, CHINWAG now has taken it on, and because we built a clinic in Gambia, in a village in Gambia, and because of COVID and everything, it got shut down. But we're reopening it again early this year. So yeah, we treated over 20,000 people over that period for free. But now, and we took students over, graduates over. But what we want to do is do the education, and so educate Gambians who want to become homeopaths, educate them through CHE, or from a charitable point of view. So any listeners want to come and join us, and we always need volunteers, not just homeopaths. We need, like I said, you can only deal with so many people if you've got assistants there as well, helping you make the remedies up. And again, we were prescribing there and then. But
it makes a huge difference. Hey, like I've got a receptionist and I've got somebody making remedies for me during the day, so I can just go bang, 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 one after the other. But if I didn't have that, like the odd day when one of them is sick and I have to do that work myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, it takes so long. I have zero breaks. I have to work through my breaks to make remedies for people and to take phone calls and everything else. So
it's hard work. You need that support system. But that's I think really what happens.
So, was it CHE that built the school in Gambia? Or
no. So it's called the Gambia Project. So it was a charity that we were trustees of, and then we raised money and we built the clinic there. But because of COVID and everything, and the sort of charity had to close, so CHE has taken it on and taken the clinic on and the whole aspect of the project. So yeah, it's really great. It's run by one of our lovely graduates, fantastic, so motivated. In fact, she came on a spotlight session, a lady called Samina Khan. She's fantastic, such an inspiration, passionate homeopath. and her energy is incredible. But she's got in with the government in Gambia. So this is where the education part comes in, where we're going to train the doctors and the nurses in homeopathy. So the Gambian government want homeopathy as part of their healthcare system. So yeah, it's a great project. That is
seriously cool. I literally just pretty much finished speed reading Hilary Fairclough's book, The Triad Method. Yes. And because I'm interviewing her tomorrow. And just reading all the work that she's done there in Botswana as well. Holy moly. Yeah. There's and also I'm interviewing Harry van der Zee tomorrow. Right. And the work that they do with Peter Chappell's remedies. Yeah. It's unbelievable what people
There's a lot of stuff going on around the world. People don't realize it. And if you've got the time and you've got the capability, go to these projects and work and volunteer, because it will show you what homeopathy can really do in a place where there's no healthcare system, really. And they have a tradition, especially in Gambia, of traditional medicine. There's no pharmaceutical companies. Well, not at the moment. I'm sure they'll be moving in at some point. And people are really open to it. And they come back and they tell you the results. In fact, one village, because we've been there a few times, when we went, the whole village sang a song about homeopathy and how it had helped the village. And we're there, and it's like tears are strolling down our eyes. And it was so emotional because it was such a heartfelt song and message, and how important we were to them. So this is why,
as opposed to being in the UK or in Australia, we just slammed all the time and horrible stuff written in the media, and nobody knows what it is that you do, and they couldn't care less, and they just want to suppress you. Well, it must be nice going somewhere like that where people walk 3 days to see you and they sing songs about you.
Exactly, a bit different, isn't it? But with skeptics, look, the thing about skeptics is I just think they're confused supporters. That's all they are. They're just confused supporters. And it's fine to have an opinion that is different than ours, I think. And so I don't necessarily need to convince skeptics. It's like, to me, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, I'm sure you get it, Eugenie. I get people's partners who've been sent by their partner to come and see you, and they go, I don't know why I'm here. I don't believe in homeopathy, and they're folding their arms, and I don't think it works. I'm not really into all this. And I say, great, it's fine, but the proof's in the pudding. Let's see tell me what issues you've got. So let's see if homeopathy can help it. So we don't have to have a dog in the fight. We just got to be, as I always say, you just got to sit in your place of truth and embody what we do.
Absolutely. And homeopathy you don't need to believe in homeopathy for it to work. And that's something that people have asked me. I get asked it quite often. My partner doesn't believe in homeopathy. Will it still work? It's like, yeah, homeopathy doesn't care that you don't believe in it. It still works.
Exactly. What do you think about a very young baby being treated?
Animals or plants.
Animals,
Yeah. I've got a client who sent me this incredible photo of her orchid that was pretty much just dead. And she gave it, I think, silica and some water. And it was just sprouting all these beautiful flowers in no time. And
that's the area of homeopathy I'm excited about, is agro-homeopathy. Because there's a lot of research.
The world.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
so much.
That's really, I think, how we heal the world is with agro-homeopathy. And, Camilla Scher and the stuff that she's doing in homeopathy for health in Africa, giving those farmers agro-homeopathy or agri-homeopathy. Yeah. I like that she is promoting that we use the word agri-homeopathy, not agro. Okay. And I like it because do you guys say that somebody's agro if they're like...
A bit of agro, yeah.
Yeah, agro. But she says...
Agri-homeopathy, I like that. That's a really good,
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think that's you talk about skeptics. I mean, that's, to me, look, there's placebo effect in any therapeutic relationship. We know that. However, that's not the only principle that works in homeopathy. And people treating farmers like with the cattle and different things. I mean, even the skeptics will say, well, you say that, homeopathy, if it's your cat, well, the cat thinks you're doing a nice thing. It's just placebo. But it's not when you've got 200 cattle up a mountain somewhere and you're giving them remedies in the water. Or, as you said, in a field, 500-acre field, and you're spraying the crops with homeopathic solution, like they've been doing in biodynamic gardening and farming for years, all those preparations they use. But one thing was very interesting. I don't know if I've told you the story before, Eugenie. One of our students in Hungary, she was an agriculture engineer. Have I told you the story?
No.
Agriculture engineer. And she did her project, final year project on peppers. And apparently and I don't know anything about growing peppers, but when you grow peppers, you have to, at some point, and please, if anybody's listening, if I got this wrong, but this is what I understood. If you break the stem of the pepper or something, it encouraged more growth within the peppers. So what she did was that they gave it arnica after they broke the stem. So they give the remedy arnica to the plant. Plants, should I say, not one plant, plants, and then gave it hammermillis, which is hammermillis is good for the veins. So she was thinking the veins in the plant. And they got something like a 35% increase in crop yield on the peppers that they were using homeopathy versus the peppers they weren't using homeopathy. So amazing. Where's the placebo on that? I asked you, my skeptic friends.
I have grown peppers, but they just never come out properly.
Peppers. Did I say it right? Did I get it right?
No, I just have very bad luck with growing peppers. I don't know. They're always very bitter, so maybe I didn't water them enough.
But I did snap the stems.
No, I didn't do that. But then also,
that's where you're going wrong.
I think I watered them at the wrong time of day. Apparently, peppers you have to water in the morning because they don't like wet feet, like not water them at night. So
that's probably the reason why they haven't survived. But to me, that's great. I mean, that shows it works on that level. It's amazing. It's incredible.
I have something else, maybe slightly controversial, that I'll ask. I'll put you on the spot. When I was chatting with Camilla about the agri-homeopathy, she was saying that you shouldn't use your watering can to put the remedy in because then after that you'll have to like sterilize it and all that. I've just never found that in practice. Like I've never had any issues. If I've got a watering can, I put remedies in, I'll shake it, water it, and then I'll just put more water in and put the next remedy in. Have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah. When I first started my practice, I had a mother and baby clinic, which I ran. And that taught me more about homeopathy than anything else, because this whole thing about, don't give the remedy if you just brush your teeth, the child, or make sure it's got a clean mouth, or it's like, I'd have parents pulling the hair out saying, I'm just finding this impossible, you know? And I say, look, give it when you can. If they brush teeth, fine, give it. And guess what? It worked. So when I trained, there was a lot of things you couldn't do with homeopathy. Yeah, I was going to say old wives' tale sort of things around where I knew homeopaths that said if you took a remedy, you couldn't walk past a coffee shop, you'd have to cross the street in case your remedy got antidoted by smelling the coffee.
Superstition, shall we say superstition?
Well, I don't know what it is,
rules,
but it wasn't.
Dogma?
Yeah, I like breaking the rules. Yeah, dogma, yeah. So, and I never really went along with that. And experience really for me plays that out, that they're not as fragile as you think. But I have my own little things, like I don't like remedies near mobile phones. Yeah. That's a no-no for me. So when I give a remedy to a client, they put it in the handbag next to that mobile phone, I say, do you mind not keep? We all have our little things that our little bugbears of how things could be affected our remedies. But I think a lot of it is in here. It's not really always reality. So to me, it's better to give a remedy than not give it. So I'm not too hung up about those things. I remember being in India, actually traveling around, and I had remedies in a pocket in a little paper envelope. And I had a pen in my pocket as well. And I went to get the remedy. I had terrible diarrhea while I was traveling. And it was arsenic and took it out. And it was covered in ink. The remedies had come out the envelope. They're covered in ink. I'm thinking, oh my God, I've ruined my remedies. But I took it anyway. And guess what? It still worked.
Wow.
So who knows?
I know. It's very, very interesting because we were taught don't eat or drink for 15 minutes before and after a remedy. Some homeopaths will say half an hour. Some will say an hour. They'll say, don't drink coffee. Don't do this. Don't do that. But then we come back and we hear these stories. Like one of my clients always drills a carrot and then puts the remedies in there and gives it to her horse that way. Another one puts it in her cat's food. That one I just completely boggled my mind. So many mums have put the remedies in the baby bottle and yet somehow they still work. So I always say to my clients, I have to tell you the correct way of taking the remedy, which is try to keep it away from food. Or I always say, at least have a clean palate. If you've just eaten something, wash your mouth out and then just have your remedy and wait 5 minutes before you eat again. But
why though? I'm going to put you on. But why though? Because it's working a whole different level. It's like you got to put the if I'm going to take a remedy, I can't touch it. So you have to put it in the top of the. Some people say it's the top of the thing and I take it. Why can't I touch it if I'm taking it?
Because you'll rub the medicine off.
Will I?
No, I'm just saying what I've been told. But it's great. This is great that we're having this conversation. I'm so glad. Because also we were having somebody literally asked in the group today, they've run out of Arnica 30C. Can they put some of their Arnica 200C in that bottle? And I was like, yeah, it's probably fine. Like, you've probably just made a combination remedy or a homocord, and somebody
What
said,
if they had the 30 in there? Can they put the 200 in the water bottle? Yeah,
no,
why not?
no. So they had a remedy bottle with pilules, and the 30C pilules had run out, but they had another bottle of 200C pilules, and they wanted to put some of those pilules of the 200C into the 30C bottle. And I was like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
why?
Why
just
would you want to
because they wanted to share it with a friend, I think, or something like that.
What they want to? Oh, I see. So it's not. So they didn't want to make the 200 into a 30. They wanted just to give some 200 to somebody. Of course, that's fine.
They just wanted to give somebody. Yeah, and then they also. You
could wash the bottle out if you really wanted to get into it. Wash the bottle out if you wanted to, or whatever. But then maybe it's still a trace. Who knows? It's these sort of like these do's and it's the do's and the don'ts. And I think at the end of the day, it's about experience. Because there's different viewpoints in homeopathy, as you know. So it's like the single remedy versus a combination remedy that people feel very strongly about. That we talked about this last night. But actually, often combination remedies is how people get into homeopathy.
Absolutely.
So, somebody who I know who's not into homeopathy at all, he's got hay fever. And I said, and I won't say he was skeptical, he's open-minded, but I said, like, go and try a remedy. And he went and got mixed pollen from the pharmacy. And he's had, hay fever for a long, long time. And this was really high here recently, the pollen count. And I said, oh, how are you getting on with it? A few days later, how are you getting on? He said, I've had no hay fever. He said, I can't believe it. I said, I'm not quite sure I can believe it. He said, but I don't have any hay fever. And that's, a combination of the different pollens. So now that has really sparked his interest. And now he's got a remedy kit. And so it's like all these things, it's different strokes for different folks, isn't it? It's like there's many routes into homeopathy. Because some people would argue, well, you don't know which remedy worked and it wasn't, it doesn't matter. That person got better. And if they then get into homeopathy that way, and then the family get into it, and that's how amazing is that?
Absolutely.
How amazing is that?
I want to have a big conversation about combination remedies. I'm going to write it down here so I don't forget. But I just quickly want to finish up that other conversation that we had about things that antidoted. And I kind of want to what I feel with that is some people are super sensitive to remedies and them getting antidoted. And some people can just hold a remedy and it will work. Some people can just think about a remedy, it will work. They can write it on paper. But then also for some people, a remedy can get antidoted quite easily. I don't know. I think that maybe has something to do with the vital force, that particular person's vital force. So that's why we say to use the remedies a certain way. But for most people, it's going to be completely fine if you have it with food or with your coffee, or if it's been in your handbag next to your cell phone. The problem is just that if we say to people to use it willy-nilly and they are somebody who has perhaps antidoted the remedy somehow and it doesn't work, then they're going to think that homeopathy doesn't work. So
but again, you're in very grey area here. So a person, I'm trying to think what you just said then, but like a person who's antidoted the remedy. Sorry.
Yeah, no, just basically say for example, you've brushed your teeth with mint toothpaste, and then you had your remedy. And that's how you always, like, you have a remedy that your homeopath prescribed, and that's how you take it. You brush your teeth, and that's the easiest time of day for take it for you. And it has somehow been antidoted. And then you say, oh, well, homeopathy doesn't work because I've used it. But actually, maybe the mint.
Well, how do you know it was?
I see what you're saying. How do you know that was?
Yeah, this is the thing. So we, how do we know that was that? How do we know it wasn't the correct remedy that was prescribed in the first place? This is when we say we get into these areas that actually we can't quantify.
No, we can't.
And when you look at homeopathy, I think this is, and a lot of homeopaths do this as well, how we complicate things.
Oh, we love that.
We overanalyze things and we go complicated. It's like, actually, homeopathy is very simple. It's a law of similars. Let's get back to the principles. It's the law of similars. And then our mind starts getting involved in this and that and all the rules and regulations around it. But at the end of the day, the remedy is a key to a lock, and it stimulates the body, the vital force, to heal itself. It's a key to that lock. And I think if it's the right remedy, it will work through it. And they're not as fragile as we think. But also, we think about homeopathy often in a very allopathic way. For example, when we talk, maybe I'm going off another tangent here, but
that's all right.
Just when homeopaths go, on what potency was that? Well, that doesn't really matter. It's about the vital force of the person who's sat in front of you, that client or patient. It's their vital force. So we match our potency to
that irks me so much. Like any webinar that you've ever done, like I've ever been on, you see the first question is, what potency did you give? What potency?
Yeah.
Like, what doesn't really
and what
matter.
potency would you get for this condition? Well, what? It's like, it doesn't make
it's a random
sense.
question. Hey, I know.
But homeopaths are very often get into this. And this is why we have to really have I think, a more of a debate about potency, because to me, it is individual. We're matching that potency to that patient, their vital force. So I went off tangent there, but back to your thing about antidote. I think it's very difficult to quantify that, because you could say, well, was it the right remedy? Was it the right potency? Was it the right frequency? So,
well, then I have to ask you, why do you not want to put your remedies by your cell phone in your handbag?
There you go. There you go. I know. It's
my remedies are in my hand. I always have my remedy kit like hanging on my handbag.
Yeah. How dare you? They're all eradicated.
That's where it's always lived. Actually, somebody asked in my podcast Facebook group the other day, she said, my husband put his cell phone on my remedies. And then somebody said, get rid of the husband, keep the remedies. Yeah. And with the rest of us all said no. The rest of us all said, no, the remedies will be fine, not to worry about it.
Of course you will. Listen, I guess what I'm saying, so we all have our blind spots. So that, really, when I talk about it, it's ridiculous. It's not going to, because of everything I've just said. It's like, I don't like my remedies if I'm traveling, going through the airport, the x-ray thing. But my wife doesn't care. She don't have to find the work. And so we have our blind spots. We have our own little thing. What do you call them? Idiosyncrasies. Is that right word? Over things. Doesn't make it real.
I know. I've had a client say to me once, when I post my remedies to her, she wants me to put them in tinfoil. And I was thinking to myself, well, my remedies actually, a lot of them come from Helios or from Scotland or New Zealand, even from, Martin and Pleasance over in Australia, where I buy a lot. And they go through all sorts of scanners and things to get to me. And they're not wrapped in tinfoil, so it's not really going to make a difference if I wrap it in tinfoil and send it to you, because they obviously work when they come to me, and they're not wrapped. So I'm trying to think, because I know that you and I have had this conversation about weird little idiosyncrasies in homeopathy, but I'm trying to think if it was a recorded chat or if it was just one of our chats that we had. But
it might be. I don't know. We always, we talk about a lot of subjects.
There's so many things like that. For example, the bowel nose odes. That's one that I always use, that we were taught at college, a decade ago. You give one bowel nose ode, you never repeat it within 3 months, and you'd never give a different one within those 3 months. And it made me so terrified of using it. And then I did Hillary's.
Why? So the question I'd ask, I know. So the question I'd ask was, why? Why?
I never thought to ask. I just blindly accepted when my lecturers said that they must know what they're doing. So I just never questioned it. And that's just how I practice.
Back to this thing that's saying the remedy has the power. It's the key, isn't it? So it's like saying the key to the Ferrari or the sports car. Let's say Ferrari. The key to Ferrari, the key is so powerful. But it's not. It's only the interaction with the Ferrari if it's the right key. But it's the vital force that has the power, not the key. So I don't know. Yeah, sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, I was. Well, this is
a bit passionate there, Eugene.
This is what our CHINWAG's all about, right? Like, it's not. Sure. We're just having a conversation. So interrupt all you like. But for me, it was revolutionary when I did Hillary's bowel nose odes course on CHE, and she said to use a bowel nose ode daily for 21 days. I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? But for the last 3 years, I have been prescribing bowel nose odes Mondays to Fridays for 8 weeks at a time.
There you go.
People are doing so well.
That's all I'm interested in, aren't you? If people get better. Now, you know why Hillary says that 21 days?
It was something to do with the gut microbiome and the time.
Exactly. It's the bowel flora. It takes 21 days. Exactly. That's so she has a rationale.
That makes sense. So, exactly.
So she has but somebody says, only give this once. Every 3 years on a full moon, make sure it's a Monday. It's like, where does this stuff come from? It's like Margaret Tyler in Homeopathic Drug Pictures, and she talks about lycopodium. Never, ever, ever give lycopodium 200.
Oh, really?
As your thing, Christian. I've always remembered that from as a student. Terrified me. Why? Because she probably once had a patient or client who had a bit of a dodgy liver, gave them lycopodium, and it overstimulated them. So we've got to be very careful. I think the only golden rule, Eugenie, is there's no golden rules. I think we're not dealing with, as I said, material, crude doses. We've got to stop thinking allopathically.
Exactly.
We've got to keep thinking it's the keys in the lock. It's the vital force. All that healing wisdom we're ever going to need is within us. And all we're doing with remedies is tapping into that. Back to the law of similars, those principles of homeopathy, like cures like. And I think if the more that we keep it simple, and I'd say to anybody that's gone into analysis paralysis, and I say this to students at the end of the year, put your books down, go and read A Beginner's Guide to Homeopathy again. Go back to the basics. Go back to the simplicity of what homeopathy is about. That's what I think.
You said that so nicely. I think that's a great place for us to finish off for today for our first ever CHINWAG. I hope you're going to have loads more of these. And maybe if any of our listeners have some suggestions for topics they'd like us to CHINWAG about, maybe if you have interesting topics here like that you want us to discuss, let us know. And also if you can think of a better name.
That's a great name. It's a great name. That's a great name.
Okay.
Very Australian.
Yeah. Well, I is it not British? Like, do you?
Yeah.
Cool.
But thank you.
It was really fun to hang out with you, Marcus. I have loads more things I want to chat about, but we'll save it for next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Until the next time.
See ya. Bye.